we're live on the internet.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Soldiers of the Lich Queen. Welcome back. I think this is our last episode before our holiday break.
Correct,
Yes?
Mundo.
Yeah. So we will be coming back after the holidays for another Sunday game. Keep an eye on Twitter and stuff for the exact date of that, because off the top of my head, I don't remember what that Sunday is. But channel announcements in general.
The 5th.
The 5th, okay, the 5th.
Oh, hi, channel announcements.
Hang on. Are you muted?
No, I'm not.
Okay, just double checking.
If you take a gander over to our Spotify, you just gotta look up Mimics Monstrosities, and you'll find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can find podcasts, specifically Demystifying DMing, because it's now a podcast. And Sam can talk about that because that's his little baby, his little cherub.
Yeah. So it's been last week's episode was about downtime, how to implement it, why to implement it, possible benefits of using it, that kind of thing. And also how to gradually introduce it, because, if you're just like, oh, you've got a week off, if you're like, oh, I gave my players a week off and they didn't do anything with it. Yeah, there's a reason for that. It's because if you take a person who, like adventurers, has done nothing but work for the past however long, and you just suddenly give them a week off, they lose their minds because they have no idea what to do. So, how to gradually ease them into it. This week's episode, which we'll be recording today and being sent over to our podcast guy Garrett for posting, is about a concept that I think is kind of always in the back of the mind for a lot of DMs. And it's the idea of what is too much success for players, and is there such a thing as that concept? And the answer is both yes and no, which I'll get into. Basically, the idea of you should always, it shouldn't always seem like a cakewalk, because then the players won't feel like there's a challenge. But all rewards can also be good and create an interesting story, and there's no such thing as breaking your game with too good of a reward, because it just creates a different story. So I'll be going into that in greater detail.
Like a deck of many things.
Exactly. Well, okay. That's not success. That is, everything is now about this, which if you're cool with that, fine. But the campaign will then become about the deck of many things.
And then you give the villain the deck of many things.
Why would you? Well, I mean, there's a chance that could go really well for you or really bad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Check it out. There's other stuff I want to do for the podcast network side of things. I've been looking a lot into Shadows of the Empire right now. I think that's what it's called. Whatever. But I'd like to do a Star Wars RPG on the channel at some point, because who doesn't love Star Wars? An all Jawa Jedi campaign. Or an old Gungan bounty hunter campaign.
Ewok Sith party.
I'd be down. I'm there for it. Yeah, so check it out. Give us ratings, comments, whatever you want to do on those. And listen, because it's fun to listen to stuff while you're driving and walking to work. An all Kyle Katarn campaign. Yeah, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And podcasts are fun, if you like podcasts. And yeah, as we mentioned, our Christmas break begins December 20th and goes until January 1st. So that means no games. Everyone's going to be with their family, hanging out, having Christmas, listening to, maybe some of us listening to problematic relatives. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm hopefully going to be running a one-shot for my family. So if you decide no for the holidays, you know what I'm going to be running for my family.
What a fun introduction to D&D that's going to be.
You're all going to die. If you haven't seen that, you can go on our YouTube channel and check out the VOD of last week's Christmas special one-shot that we did, where everyone played little Christmas gnomes, and it went hilariously.
Amazing.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. So if you like Christmas, but if you like your Christmas a little spooky, and you like The Thing, you can check it out. It's called Gnome for the Holidays. And it just gives me more ideas for stuff to do in the future. Yes. So yeah, Christmas break. Next week we will be back, or not next week. This Wednesday we will be back with Beneath the Tide, minus 2 people, Sam and Kate, I believe. But it's worth checking out because it's going to be a really big combat encounter, and I hope it goes well. And then Thursday will be the premiere episode of our sequel campaign to Curse of Strahd, Shadows over Ravenloft. And I'm so excited because it's going from a Curse of Strahd campaign to a Ravenloft campaign as a whole, so all the domains of dread. So, if you like Ravenloft, come check it out. And see what you can do post Curse of Strahd if you want to stay in that area and not leave, because it's a lot of fun doing gothic horror. That's it for channel announcements. Okay. Off to you, Sam.
All right. So, last time on Dragon Ball Z, oh boy. Anyway, before we go off on that tangent, last time we were all together, the party, there was a large portion of some character development and growth for everybody. The party was involved in effectively giving testimony or testifying against the Chimera's personal army. The private military group that had captured a ship captain on behalf of somebody, probably someone wealthy in town. The party rescued the ship captain and then managed to get a town guard escort up to the former palace that is now the Temple of the Silver Flame, where they made their way up. They seemingly were very they were not at all really harassed on the way, or relatively not at all. The party didn't actually have to do anything, and they discovered that they were very well protected along the way. Once they got there, they all gave their said what they saw, what happened to them, and everything. Drusilla went up and communed with the Silver Flame itself and had a moment with the Silver Flame. After that, they kind of went about taking care of a couple things, doing some stuff. Hannibal went and met with Master Varro, the wizard whose house they cleaned out way back when they first got to Pyre. Their first ever job, clearing phase spiders out of his house for his hapless student who had accidentally summoned them into his house. And Hannibal expressed interest in being taught by Master Varro in the wizardly ways. Also expressed some doubts in himself and his role in the party, and Master Varro was basically like, "Don't do that. You're great. You don't worry about fitting in. He basically said, don't try fitting into the world, make the world fit to you." And then Hannibal came back and met up with the party and told them about this, or reiterated the importance of the job that they had heard about for Master Varro to go and gather up some magic items of his. There was a shipment that had been captured and attacked by bandits, so they need to go and grab all of that. But also the rest of the party had identified an elven embassy in town that is basically kind of like a park as far as they can tell. A lot of nature, a lot of trees and stuff, and they wanted to get Drusilla some time to go and just be in nature for a bit, so they were going to head over and do that. And Ilvem also has their performance coming up. This is the day for that, finally. The last 3 or 4 episodes have all been 2 days. And a jam-packed couple of days. So, that is where we will start off.
Wow, that sure was a yummy lunch.
Hey, you are all in the main area of the Onyx Cat Cabaret, having just eaten lunch and kind of gathered up back together.
All right, so we're looking for a park of some kind?
It's not like a park. It's like an embassy park. So if we find the embassy, then we find the park.
You have directions to it. Like, you know a general location.
We do have a general location of it, Sid. It's kind of silly that you forgot that.
Interesting.
Would y'all mind if I just stayed back at the room to practice my little fluting? Will you go check out this park?
Do you need any help preparing for your performance, or would you prefer to be alone?
I think I'll be fine to be just by myself. Yeah, it'll be fine.
Generally, when people want to practice with their flute, they want to do it alone.
How do I kick Hannibal out of the campaign?
Suddenly Hannibal dies. Just like that.
Flame strike.
I have a fun backup just in case.
Right, well, enjoy practice. We'll be back to see your performance, I'm sure.
Okay, well, I hope you have fun at the park. Or the embassy. I don't know. Have fun.
You know where to find us if you need anything.
Of course. Bye.
Okay.
And I guess Sid will lead the way to this park/embassy.
Okay. All right, heading out. I was gonna say we've got actual sounds for Moloch now. Yeah.
I imagine that it's just Moloch, like we're just constantly having to like talk over him.
Yep. Yeah. Basically.
He's barking.
Yep. Two heads are just poking out of Hannibal's coat at all times. Oh.
Oh no. Oh, what a little gremlin.
Little baby.
Moloch, I love you. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I would die for that dog. Oh my God.
So that was Moloch.
Oh,
Yes.
Moloch.
That was Moloch.
All right. So I'll head out of the Onyx Cat for the in the direction of the embassy. Sid, you know more or less the way.
Uh-huh.
A little different, slightly different place, but same general area as somewhere you're familiar with.
This is the way.
This is
This is the way.
So yeah, you can lead the way through the streets. It's like mid-afternoon as you're walking. The sun is shining down. Though looks like there might be some clouds on the horizon.
Okay.
Might
do
be-
I know the area well enough to like maybe like kind of go in a route where we kind of pass the other area I've been to?
You certainly can, yes.
Okay, out of sight. But I just
Okay,
wanna
so like a
check
wide
wide
area. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you all eventually get to what appears to be kind of like an embassy district. You are embassy section of town. You get into the Flame Shadow, which is the foreign district of town. It exists both in and outside the walls. It's kind of like extends to just the northern edge of the city. It's called Flame Shadow because it sits in the shadow of the cliff where the Silver Flames Temple is. And this is the section, this is basically the foreign quarter. It's where a lot of like embassies are. It's where a lot of people who immigrate to the city set up, like settle in. There's a lot of like smaller pockets of communities that are based specifically around different groups and nationalities that come in and find familiar language and people. So as you come, and it exists, there's like the inside of the city part, and then there's the outside the wall part. The outside the wall part, the Flame Shadow actually has its own port as well. So there are two main harbors in town. There's like kind of the main one, and then there's the Flame Shadow one, which tends to be where people like passengers coming from other places or from other nations come in, whereas the other one is mostly for like business and trade. So as you're walking through this section of town, you immediately notice the architecture is one of the first things you notice that just immediately shifts, and it's just like a patchwork, block by block and street by street, of different styles and materials and all these and colors. Like, it suddenly becomes a lot less uniform. It was already, fairly varied to begin with, but like it is noticeably disparate from like one side of the street to the other. You'll notice completely different styles, and there's, as you're walking through, also like the smells that are hitting your nose are it's a little strange, because like you're getting like 3 different national cuisines scents all like converging on you at once. So it's kind of like, it's like there's something like almost minty coming from that direction, like a curry coming from over there, and then like what I think is like a wine sauce made like a strong like alcohol kind of smell coming from straight in front of me, and all those coming together is just a very strange combination as you're passing through the streets. Eventually, as Sid keeps leading everybody, it becomes a little bit less concentrated and less dense as you get into what looks almost like little campuses, kind of like specific, not quite walled in, but at least fenced off areas that seem to be fairly self-contained as you're passing by specific embassies, which are, almost like mini compounds, I would say. Like, there's multiple buildings with a main place to go. They're pretty well set up. It seems like the city supports them significantly in having these places set up for people to come visit. Ilvem, at least at a distance, you would probably spot some Farathan flags flying over a gray stone building a few streets away.
If I were there.
Oh, that's right. Ilvem is not there. Never mind. No one really notices that then. I forgot. Ilvem is back in the room practicing. Yeah, nobody else really has any knowledge of other nationalities. So yeah, you just see like a bunch of different places, different flags, different banners, none of which are terribly familiar, though. Sid, you pass by one embassy. The other, Hannibal and Drusilla, as you pass by, you would notice that it's very, the stonework is almost like completely flat, almost like a plaster, where it's been like smoothed over, so there's no like gaps between bricks or anything. And it's got this fair, like 5 or 6 foot high wall made of this smooth, light stonework running around it. All of the entrances appear to be mostly circular, that like lead through, like the gateways that lead through inside. And everything inside seems to be made of this same material. All of the rooftops are this like deep blue, it looks like almost metallic shingles. And then inside, there's a lot of that same circular motif in the windows and doorways leading inside, and you can spot, at least from if Sid gets close enough to like peek in. Mm-hmm. You would notice a fair number of elves walking to and from and around within the grounds of the compound. Generally speaking, they all have a fairly, like, if you had to ascribe a tone to it, a fairly relaxed demeanor seems to be the general tone of the entire place, despite it being such a, you would usually assume to be like a high stress kind of environment, just because it's, an embassy, and those are important and do a lot of important diplomatic work. Generally a lot of like fairly flowy clothing, cinched at like the waist, to allow just kind of these baggy clothes, almost robes, but like also just like the pants are very loose and flowy with a lot of sandals in the footwear. There's also a lot of like ponds and water feature kind of things, like fountains spread throughout as well. But Sid just like kind of walks by, peeks in, and then just keeps going.
Did I see anyone that I might recognize?
Give me a perception check. See, because you're like passing by and trying to nonchalantly just like scan the entire place.
It's not good.
Okay.
That's a 5.
Okay. You think you might like there's someone standing with their back to you that like the back of their head looks familiar and you fixate on them like as you're walking, like yeah, and then they turn around like just as you're about to get out of sight and you realize you have no idea who that person is. Like, just wasted all your time just like fixating on that one person, waiting for them to turn so you could like see their face, and then it's like, oh nope, wrong person. Okay.
That's such a mood.
And then
Okay.
you just keep on going.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, as you a little bit past that, though, it's not long before you start to spot treetops over the roofs. What looks like like a small park, pretty densely packed with trees. It looks like almost like just a small chunk of forest in this section of town.
All right, we'll go to the forest.
Okay. So as you approach, you notice that the cobblestone street here just kind of gives way to just natural forest floor almost. Not even like trimmed grass. It's like moss and roots and low scrub kind of plant life. And you see there's just trees scattered throughout this basically like, city block sized area. But as you approach, you notice that the trees themselves, there's no buildings as you first approach, you notice it's just trees. But as you get closer, you notice these trees are very, very wide. And it appears that there's like buildings built into them. But Drusilla, upon like Hannibal and Sid looking at that, you're like, oh, they just like carved out these, they like have big trees and they carved out the insides to make buildings. But Drusilla, you look at them and with your knowledge of nature and just like very quickly just glancing at them and these trees, because you've seen a tree like
A lot?
yes, you've seen a lot of trees. But you've also seen trees where like they've grown around something. Like if there's another fallen tree or a rock or something like a boulder nearby, they'll like almost over time, like it almost looks like a liquid frozen in place, or it looks like it almost flows around it. You see that a lot in these trees, like that kind of same slight distortion and almost flowing feature to it. And looking at these, you can tell that these buildings were not carved out of the trees. The trees were grown into the shape of buildings. And so these gaps in the middle where like you can go inside of are like natural. Like it's just like the tree grew with like a bubble inside of it basically, where you can then fill it with furniture and things. And there are doorways set into the front so that, like you can, and like windows, but again the same thing, it looks like they were set in place, and then instead of like nailing them in or anything, it looks like the tree just grew up to the doorway and just kind of sealed it in place, like the tree just expanded with all of these features and just kind of locked them in. And you can also, this also is another elven embassy, and you can see people walking to and from these different tree buildings, going about their business. Many of them, a lot of them, you notice, are barefoot as they just walk through the grass and the scrub and the moss, stepping over tree roots and things. There's birds chirping and singing around, small woodland creatures. It's like as you step into it further, it's like being in a forest. Like the sounds of the city just kind of fade and vanish very quickly as you come in.
Sid's going to take off his shoes.
Okay.
And just sort of carry them with him and try to like see if he can spot a fairly empty area.
Just like a clearing sort of thing?
Yeah.
Okay. As you're looking around, you think you can see almost like an alcove made of a series of trees, because not every tree is a building, like the biggest ones are, but there's also other ones kind of looks like strategically grown to create almost like walls. And there's also like brush and bushes that they do not appear to have been trimmed. It's not like, neat like hedges that have been cleared away and like chopped down to straight lines. But despite that, they still, like, everything still appears fairly, it's not like straight hard lines, but everything still seems like to naturally create almost like avenues and walls and barriers in ways that just kind of looks like they just naturally occurred in a way that replicates how someone would have landscaped this place if they wanted to naturally or wanted to like artificially. So yeah, you can find a place where there's like a almost alcove made of like trees and hedges and bushes further up.
Okay, Sid's gonna head in that direction.
Okay. Drusilla?
As soon as I get in, and it's like the sounds of the city fade away, it's just gonna kind of like do the thing where like you dig your toes in just to feel what it's really like.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just gonna stand there and just kind of ground herself with nature again and let the stress of the city just kind of wash away. She's just standing right where they were.
Okay.
Like in the middle of the path. That's
Okay.
what she's doing.
What about Hannibal?
Looking around, uncomfortable. Looking for possible materials in eyesight.
Okay. Looking around, to you, this looks just like kind of a normal forest. Like, yeah, there's these buildings, they just carved them out of trees. It just looks like they just grew some woods here. The strangeness of how this place appears to have been grown into place as opposed to like put into place is kind of lost on Hannibal's very like analytical kind of mindset. So it's just like, yeah, this is just regular woods. Well, there's some mushrooms over there, but nothing that looks terribly magical or anything like that.
Nah.
Okay. So Sid, you were walking over to like that alcove you spotted?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As you go over, you notice it's kind of almost there's like a arc of stones that look like they've almost just haphazardly fell there, happen to be there, some flat, some round, but they make almost like a winding arc from one set of tree, like one part of the trees over to the bushes that basically mark the entrance, almost like a demarcation of like separating off this area. As you look inside, you can just see this small little grove almost. There's a little clearing, and at the center of it is what appears to be a couple of small almost bushes, like almost like mini trees that have grown up and then like spiral, like three of them that come up and spiral together and then fan out with a wide stone bowl set into the middle and in like the center, like the focal point of this area.
Does it seem just like does it seem like a cool place, like just a cool place, or does it seem like there's like this is super important, like if it's anything like religious or anything like that, like something I should not be disturbing?
It's hard to tell because it seems to be like, again, everything you can kind of get a sense for this idea of like everything seems natural, but it seems like it was grown intentionally kind of thing. So you're starting to kind of pick through and notice the things that were intentional about this place, but it seems to be, for the most part, as far as you can tell, it doesn't seem to be like super, super important. There's no one on guard, no one watching it. Nothing indicating you shouldn't go here.
Okay.
And it does look like from this distance you can see like what looks like markings along the edge of the bowl also.
I'm gonna go check out the markings.
Okay.
Being sure to be respectful of the space that I'm in.
Okay. As you get up to the bowl, you notice that it is filled about 3/4 of the way with water, but like crystal clear water that the surface of which reflects everything around it. Like as you look over it, you can see your own reflection in it. And along the edge of the bowl, you can see writing in what appears to be Elvish.
Oh boy.
However, as you're looking at it, you have to take a minute to really read it, because at first you're like, oh, Elvish, when you start reading it, and it's like someone nowadays trying to read Old English. Like it's an old dialect of Elvish that is nearly unrecognizable to you. So you need to like and sit there, and as you're reading through it, not all of it even makes sense necessarily. You think this might be some kind of magic, sort of like usage of runes. Like there's probably some magical purpose to these, more so than a message meant to be read.
Okay. All right. Well, after reading that, I'm going to just very mindful, very respectful of the space that I'm in. I'm just going to find a little area, lay down my boots, take off my coat, and lay my weapons down and start doing some yoga.
Okay. It's very, very peaceful here. Very much reminds you of your like secret spot in the woods outside your enclave. Sunlight streaming in through some of the branches and leaves. Nice and cool, a little bit of a breeze. Very relaxing.
Hell yeah. Can I see the rest of my group from here or nah?
It depends on it kind of depends on how far in you go. If you're like further in the back, it's like almost completely private. But if you're closer to the opening of it, then you can see them pretty well.
Okay. I want to keep them in eyesight.
Okay. All right. Drusilla, you're just kind of standing there, wiggling your toes in the earth, feeling nature around you.
After a bit, like she's gonna take like a minute to do that, and then she's gonna go try and find a spot off the path to just sit and meditate for a bit.
Okay. You would probably, as you're walking and looking for a place, closest place and thing that would catch your eye is that area that Sid found his way over to. You can see Sid over doing some yoga, that kind of enclosed area with the stone basin, probably at the next to or behind him in the middle of it. It looks fairly secluded.
We'll check it out.
Okay. Yeah, you go over, you can see Sid doing some yoga. It seems very quiet, very peaceful, and you can see that same basin with the runes etched in along the edge of it. As you get closer, though, the runes look actually familiar to you. Not necessarily in meaning, but you've seen runes like them used in things like spells and rituals in your childhood by your mother.
Cool. Do I know what these specific ones mean?
If you take a minute, kind of take a look at it. This does seem to be some kind of druidic magic, and you'd be aware that unlike arcane magic, what Hannibal studies, druidic and nature-based magic is a lot less based on exact formulas and specific runes, and has to do a lot more with personal connection and personal meaning for a lot of these things. So it's a lot less exact and specific. So you kind of almost would have to it's less about reading and analyzing and more just kind of reaching out and getting a feel for it to see if you can discern the purpose.
We'll do that. See if
Okay.
I figure it out. Curious.
You kind of just hold out your hands over this and just release a little bit of it's almost like the very beginning part of casting a spell. Like when you cast a spell, you channel the natural magic of nature, and then your spells are ways that you've learned to specifically shape it into a desired effect.
Mm-hmm.
So this is more of just the beginning part of just channeling, just drawing together and channeling in some power of nature, just a very small amount of it, and then kind of just allowing it to reverberate and echo off of this surface and then feel kind of what bounces back and get a sense for it. As you do that, you actually feel it. You feel it respond to you relatively quickly, and you can see the reflections in the surface seem to get brighter and brighter to the point where you can't see past the surface anymore to the bottom of the basin. It's almost just turned to a completely mirror sheen. And then the reflections themselves seem to swirl to be almost to just become just a swirling pattern of colors along the surface of this water. And you believe, as you are getting a sense of this, that this is some kind of scrying pool.
Oh. Yeah, I know. Okay. But do you know how a scrying pool works?
You would have some idea of it. You've definitely seen your mother scry before. You know, both specifically and non-specifically, like looking around, like specifically looking for things, but also in more of a general sense of she would use one of these to like read the weather for the future, or determine what areas of the forest needed tending to, or things to get more of a greater general sense. But she could also use it to get it to look more specifically. So you've seen her do something like this. However, when she would do it, there was a specific spell involved. Like she would be channeling a lot more specifically of her magic into doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this seems to be responding to, like, you can feel actually that as you've kind of channeled energy into it, it's responded with a resurgence of its own that seems to be then connected down to the ground to this entire area around you. And it feels like it produces its own energy in a sense, and that it is basically, you've seen your mother do it with a spell and a lot of brute force from her end. This thing is doing a lot of the work, would do a lot of the work for someone who wanted to use it.
Spy on your mom.
What is this looking like to Sid from the outside?
Sid's a little further away, and it's hard to see like into the bowl from that far away, so it would more just kind of just would see Drusilla just holding her hands over the surface of the bowl. And it's almost like the sunlight around Drusilla has just amplified and brightened, and just almost like just standing in a beam of sunlight, and Sid would just be able to see the reflections off the surface of the water, kind of like just like the sort of like, yeah, you know, the reflections off the surface of water, that strange like wavering pattern, just that reflecting up onto Drusilla's face, illuminating her from below.
Sid's gonna keep an eye out, but he's also very focused on holding that crow position.
Okay.
Drusilla's gonna try and scry on Caelynn.
Okay. So you focus for a moment and try and focus on her. You what would you say is the thing on you that reminds you most of her? Like that you has the most, like, is there an object on you that has the most physical connection?
The little crow skull that she has in her hair.
Mm.
It's a replica of her mother's druidic focus given to her
Okay.
the night before the gift took her.
Okay.
So that's like the most memorable piece.
So you can kind of feel as you're kind of like mentally searching for her, your mind is drawn up first to that. And so you're gonna take it out a little bit and then hold it in your hands over the bowl, and there's almost just this sense of channeling energy into the crow skull and then allowing it to echo down into the water, and then feeling the reverberations up and down and back and forth. And you can just see small ripples begin to spread from the center in like a pulse pattern as you just channel this energy up and down. Almost begins to, and the water barely ripples across the surface, but to you can feel this push and pull, almost like the tide or like the waves on the shore, moving out and coming back in and moving out and coming back in, until the ripples stop and the swirling light across the top begins to coalesce into a different image that's not a reflection of anything around you. And you see a top-down view of your mother walking with purpose through the woods, but not any that you recognize. And it's you think it may be a product of the scrying, but the woods and the features around her almost seem blurry and indistinct, like they're shifting, and like it's almost like if you're focusing on her, so everything else is kind of out of the corner of your eye. But it's almost as like when you're not looking at things, the terrain shifts and moves around you, like around her. Like 1 second, like if you glance over, there's a tree there, but you glance back at her and glance back, and suddenly there is not, even though like where she should have been passing it, there's a rock instead of a tree. Like everything is almost like you don't see it moving, but it's almost like as if you're not focusing on it, it feels no need to stay looking like it once did. So like everything is just constantly in motion, but only when you're not looking at it is the best way you could think about it. And you can just see her walking with purpose. When in your childhood, you remember her dressing fairly in a sort of a pragmatic sense, kind of like very natural, whatever you could make or find. However, right now you can see, because you're seeing her from mostly above, she's got a cloak around her shoulders that appears to be, it goes from a dark, deep red at the shoulders down to almost a bright orange at the bottom. Just kind of fades like a gradient from one to the other. And she's a bit more, there's more intention to her appearance, and there's a lot more to it at the moment. She's wearing what looks to be almost a like circlet around her head, made of what looks to be like branches and small like horns or antlers that are set in with like small crystals of reds and oranges and yellows glittering throughout it. It's hard to see more details from your distance, but there's a definite difference here, and it's in a way like you almost, if it weren't for certain very telling things, you would not have even recognized her at first glance.
That's fun. She's okay though, like not.
She definitely appears to be okay, yeah. But as you watch her, then she stops walking at some point and like seems to stop and straighten up as if she hears something. And then she turns and looks up directly at you. And then she reaches a hand up in your direction, very, very slowly, in a very fluid motion, reaches a hand up and just points a finger at you, and then curls her finger inward, and your view in the pool like zooms down to face her, as if face to face. And it's very strange because you're looking down into the pool, but the view then is straight on, so it's a little disorienting. And you can see her now. She's wearing what appears to be, you would describe it as armor, actually, made of some kind of red scale, but fitted almost to the degree of finery. Like it's not rough or it seems to be more. There seems to be function to it, but form seems to be the primary concern. And she also, wearing around her neck with a silvery chain, is what appears to be a long dagger, about that long, sheathed with a curved handle and curved blade, almost into an S, held around her neck, that you've never seen before. And she pulls you down face to face with her, and she says, "Hello, my child."
Hi. Oh my god, you're alive.
Yes, I am. Is there a reason I shouldn't be?
I was so worried.
For me? How sweet, dear.
Where are you going? What is going on?
Oh, a great many things. You're going to have to be more specific.
The knife. Why? What's the...
You always were gifted in the powers of observation. This is, well, we can call it a gift, but I suppose you have a right to know if it was a form of payment, in a sense.
For what?
Well, my dear, for you.
For me? What do you mean?
Well, surely you've met others like you now, if the truth was told to me for where you were being taken.
Yeah. Yeah. I've met them. My siblings.
Mm-hmm. Surely they've told you that for each of them there is an arrangement made. Some compensation for each of us.
So you were given a knife to have me.
I asked specifically for one. It took them some time to find it. It was not until recently that it was delivered to me. I don't think they realized how difficult it would be when they agreed to it, when I agreed to my terms.
What does it do?
All in due time, child. All in due time.
Will I see you again?
Oh, I should hope so. Although, there are things in motion, and you will need to be strong.
Okay. Where are you?
She's been basically holding like a finger up like this, and it's the way it evokes a very specific feeling of whenever she would be giving you like a talking to as a child.
Mhm.
She would take just the one finger and just kind of gently hook it under your chin to make sure you were looking at her.
Yeah.
And so as she's holding the scrying in place with that one finger, it like you can almost feel it just on the underside of your chin. And she moves her finger and like sweeps the view around. And even at this, like especially down here at ground level, as you're looking, and she sweeps it back and forth, it's very disorienting because she sweeps it one direction. You can see that sort of blurry, indistinct wooded landscape behind her. She sweeps it around. You see a different section. She moves it back, and what's behind her again has shifted, is different. It looks like she moved you in a different direction, but you can tell just based on the movement that you're looking in the same direction and things are different there. And she says, "Not anywhere that you have been or can easily find," is what I'll say.
Okay.
But I always told you you would have a grand destiny, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Is it time?
Well, it's time for some things. My time has come. Your time is soon arriving. And you will need to be ready for it. You are not just some girl from the woods who can dabble in the magics of nature, the natural world around you. You are my daughter, and that has great meaning.
Of course.
We are going to attain great things, you and I.
Mom,
Yes.
how did you know it was me?
When one learns and studies, one learns to see with more than just your eyes. In time, you will learn as well. practice. Meditate on the world around you and the power there. Learn to harness it for yourself.
I will.
Good. Am I to understand that you've gotten stronger since we last saw each other? That was what they told me they would need you to do.
I'd like to.
Good. You will need to become stronger yet. Because now that you found me, well, they will be coming for you.
They? Who's they, Mother?
There are... Well, if one truly wants to succeed in the world, one must make bargains upon bargains, deals within deals. And, well, there are others who will try to take you. Do not let them. And when the time comes, and she like reaches down and almost absently runs her fingers along the sheath of the knife around her, hanging around her throat, says, "We will deal with them in time."
Surely you must tell me so I can prepare. How am I supposed to fight them if I don't know who they are?
You will have many enemies in your life, many of which you will not know who they are or why they hate you, or why they are a danger to you. This is something you must prepare for, although I will tell you in this one instance. Where I am, she looks around, is the realm of the Fae. Who will be coming for you is some of those that reside here. Speaking of, she kind of squints past you. I believe you may have a visitor. Fight well, daughter. I do hope to see you again. And Sid, as you're sitting there, as you're like doing yoga, in the entrance on one of the wider, flatter stones laid on the ground, you just see a small blue flame sort of just flare into life on the ground, and it begins to grow and grow and expand upward, casting this cool blue light into the clearing. And as it does, that beam of sunlight that Drusilla is currently standing in almost seems to like fade and get pushed back by the blue light coming off of this fire, until it begins to coalesce, and almost out from inside of it, you see what looks like metal begin to emerge, as if coming from a great distance away, but from the center of it, until what looks like a suit of armor emerges, expands outward, standing on the stone. Fairly tall. Like, it keeps growing and growing, and it gets to about 9-10 feet tall. A helmet floating inside of it, completely empty, but this cold ice blue flame filling it from inside. And Drusilla, as you turn and look in that direction, it extends a hand forward and closes it, and a blade of the same fire shoots upward. And the reflection in the pool begins to shrink and fade. And you see your mother's face just looking up at you, but with just a smirk. And she says, "You will do well. I believe in you." And then she does this, and then there's just like, almost like a rock has been dropped into the pool, but from the inside, the water just kind of splashes up and like some droplets land on your face as you turn and see that standing in the entryway. Hannibal, you can like, as you turn, you're like looking around. As you turn and look too, you see this like towering suit of armor filled with like bright blue fire. Draw a blade and then step inward towards where Sid and Drusilla are.
Oh, hello there.
So, arms.
Okay, that'd be initiative then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Counterpoint to that armor. Arms?
Arms.
So, Hannibal got a 1.
Okay.
Okay. I used my special elven dice. And I got an unnatural 20.
Okay.
Go to 6.
Okay.
Y'all, I just wanted to talk to my mom.
Hmm.
Yeah, yo, hold up.
Speaking of,
Hold up.
terrible pep talker.
What the fuck?
Yikes forever.
Oh my god. I feel so bad for Drew. Like, that's your mom? I am so sorry.
Drew loves her mama, y'all.
Oh my
Well, this whole time Drew's been like, I hope my mom is okay. I'm like, mom's doing fine.
Yeah, your mom's like, hi, I'm a level 20 druid, and also somehow a level 20 everything else simultaneously. I'm fine.
Oh my god.
I'm off doing some shit. You helped me achieve some things apparently.
Oh my god. What is even happening?
My
So,
mom's great, y'all. She's
I mean,
fucking
I'm a
badass.
fan.
I love her.
So, let's get some initiatives in here. Who got? I think Sid got 20. What did Drusilla get?
6.
6. Okay. What's your? Oh, yeah. Okay. And then Hannibal, what'd you get? 1. Okay.
I got heartburn.
I got a rock.
Okay. So, Sid, you like just as this thing is finished coalescing in front, like 10 feet away from you,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh, this is like, and you see it's like it's coalescing, but there's a moment where you're like, I don't know if this is bad. This could just be like a thing from around, like this could just be an elf thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But you see the look on Drusilla's face looking over from the pool, and you realize, no, this is bad. This is bad. So arms, and now what are you doing?
Use half my movement to get out of crow pose.
Okay.
And then I will have my arms and I'm gonna slashy slash. So I'm gonna mess it up.
Okay.
That is the plan.
All right. Go ahead and roll.
Oh boy. Okay, that is 17 to hit.
That does hit.
Woo! I'm gonna use this one. Okay, and that is 5 radiant damage.
Okay. So you come up to this thing and slash at it with your claws, and the claws basically just pass right through the armor, but you can, like, you still feel resistance as basically they dig into the flame essence on the inside of it. And as they come out the other side, you see like a flare of fire shoot out a gap in the armor, as if like a great wind just gusted right through it. You can see almost like just that wispy flame essence just like ejected to one side, where it scatters across the grass. You see some of the blades of grass become singed, and some get like covered in frost as its ghostly blue essence spills out onto the ground.
Mm. Okay. I will slash again.
Okay.
Oh boy. That is quick maths. 19 plus 5 to hit.
24. Definitely yes.
Thank you for being able to count because I cannot.
Math teacher.
And that is another 5 radiant.
Okay. All right. So you slash into this thing and spill its ghostly blue flame on the ground. It turns its direction from Drusilla to you now, with basically just that it's holding the hilt of a sword. It's hard to tell if there is even a blade in there. It's just this like plume of blue fire erupting out from the handle that there may or may not even be a solid blade in there, but it turns it back in your direction and just casts you in this cold blue light. But just before it's about to swing, Drusilla, you just barely get the jump on it and you can go.
Hey.
You won the tie.
Yikes. How far away am I from it?
You are about 25 feet away.
25 feet?
Mm-hmm.
And I would get the sense that it's here for me. Or
yes, it was focused on you, and your mother base was like, you have a
then I'm going to get its attention on me.
Okay.
Drusilla's going to, slam the quarterstaff down to cast Flame Blade on it.
Okay. So it's been like illuminating this entire area with its like pale blue light. So you slam your staff down, and this bright red orange flame blade shoots up off the top of it, and the red light of that like pushes back against it, and you can see like the two lights mix in the middle where you can like see where the two of you are standing. Sid, you can see like the two of them standing opposite each other. The light of their two flaming blades opposing. Flame Blade has effects for being cast at a higher level, correct?
Yes, but I do not have those spell slots.
What level did you cast it at?
Second.
As you cast it, almost like a residual. There's almost like a residual pulse of energy because you were getting that back and forth energy from the crow skull. And as you're still holding it in your hand and you channel the magic through it, you feel almost like from the image, not necessarily, it feels different, but from the image itself in the scrying as it ended, you can feel the skull in your hand grow warm, and your flame blade as it erupts outward, extends a little bit, and is cast instead at 3rd level.
That doesn't do shit. It starts at 4th level because it's every 2 levels.
Oh, the next spot up, basically.
Cool. This was a bonus action.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna run up to it.
Okay.
I'm gonna stab it.
Okay.
With the blade.
All right.
Don't fail me, please. Don't fail me. Dirty 20.
Yes, that hits.
Okay, so 4d6. 5, 6, 9, 12 fire damage.
Okay. So you come up to it and you just jam the blade right up against its front. Like you find a gap underneath its breastplate and jam it up underneath it. And for a moment, you can see its insides just glow bright red as you just stick that red, natural looking red orange glowing flame up into it. Seems almost purge its insides of blue for a second and illuminate it red from the inside for it manages to push you back. And the blade pulls out from inside of it, and it's like the normal red orange flame of it has almost an edge of blue to it for a second, with that blue essence dripping off of it, almost like flaming blood, before it kind of fades and evaporates off, and the red flares back into life again. Is that your turn?
Yeah.
Okay.
Stand underground. Like...
The towering suit of armor is going to go. It keeps the blade pointed towards Sid, but it's going to turn towards you and just closes its other fist, and you can see that blue flame just flare up from inside, enshrouding it in that blue light, and just reaches down and slams a fist forward at you for a 17 to hit.
Yeah, that hits.
Okay. So you take 8 points of bludgeoning damage.
Uh-huh.
and 6 points of fire damage. Actually, sorry, 6 points of cold damage.
Drew's not looking so hot, y'all.
It's like it like smacks at you with its hand, but then like as its hand passes, like some of that blue fire like clings to you, and it looks like you've basically been lit on fire for a second, and it feels like burning, but as it fades, it doesn't fade like warm down to cool. It fades like cold up to warmth, like almost realize it's like the burning of like touching something incredibly cold for a second.
Okay, Flame Blade's concentration, so make the
Mm-hmm.
concentration check. 19.
That definitely makes it, yes.
Cool.
Just come back alive. Mama Ilvem has some healing spells at the ready for ya.
Where's Mama Ilva when we need?
It was supposed to be a nice little trip to the park.
I just wanted to talk to her mama, y'all.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Drew's mom's got some shit going on.
Last
So that
time we-
brings us to Hannibal's turn.
Hannibal's just gonna let out a sigh and say, so uncivilized. And I'm gonna take out that experimental elixir I made last time,
Okay.
pop the cork, and go, I hope this works. I hope I don't explode. And I drink it, and I gain a 10-foot fly speed for 10 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm gonna levitate off the ground 10 feet.
Okay. Is that your action?
Yep.
Okay, so Hannibal just takes off a little bit, just hovers 10 feet in the air behind it. It does not even seem to really notice you.
The aesthetic of it all. Beautiful.
You do notice that, like, there are people around who have, like, started to notice, like, a few people have started to notice this. It's fairly often secluded off on one side, but a few people have started to notice and, like, are getting closer. We're like, what the hell is going on over there? Bring it back at the top of Sid. We got
Okay.
Drusilla just got smacked by this thing. Its gauntlet is probably about like this big.
Is there any way for me to maneuver so I can place myself in front of Drew?
Do it. Don't do it.
Just Flame Blade doesn't have reach, right?
Flame Blade is 5 feet.
Okay. So no, not like, I suppose you could, if you wanted to shove it back and then step in between, you could do that.
Mhm.
But currently, no, they're like right next to each other.
Okay, would that be action bonus to kind of
That
shove
would-
Drew back a bit?
It would, or shove Drew back or shove it back?
Or shove it back, yeah.
Shoving it back would just, it would be the shove action, which would basically replace one of your attacks.
Okay, valid. I will go ahead and do that.
Okay.
So shove and place myself in front of Drew.
All
and
right.
just sort
So
of
to
tell
shove it
Drew
back,
to run.
you can make an athletics check. I think with your arms, you can use wisdom instead of strength. That's how that works.
Yes, I believe
Okay,
so. Let
yeah.
me double check. Yes.
All right, so roll some contested athletics checks as it tries to stay still. It is large sized.
Okay. That is not good. That is
Well-
7.
It got a 6, so
Hey!
over 2.
Hey!
So it's like you don't push very hard, but it steps like on that part of the ground where some of its flame blood had hit the ground and like left a little slick of ice. So it's like stepping on that when you shove it back, so it has terrible footing and stumbles back a little bit, and then you can put yourself in between it and Drusilla, leaving
Okay.
it with your bonus action.
Perfect. So I will go ahead and tell Drew to run and get help, and I will make a little attack.
Okay.
That was cocked. Hey, natural 20.
Okay. So, as specifically said in the description, this thing appears to be actually, as you're looking at it, it's moving around. The actual metal of it and the materials, it seems to be fairly delicate construction. As you shove it back, it turns in a way where you get a glimpse at like a glowing moat in the center, like the very core of where all the fire is coming from. And you basically just take one of your hands and they're not quite material, so they pass through a lot of solid objects. Step up close to it, jam one of your spectral hands up inside of it to the center where you find that core, and you wrap your fingers around it, and you get up close and just, and as you do that, it just, you can like, basically there's just a flare out from between your spectral fingers inside of it, and its inside just goes completely dark. And then just clang, 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 as all of its pieces just fall separately apart to the ground. The sword clatters onto some rocks. The flame on it just goes out. You can see that it was just a hilt, and just lays there, gone. And the fight is over, because it specifically says in its stat block that if it takes a crit, it just dies.
Oh my gosh.
Thanks, Mama. Really looked out for me.
Oh my god.
So Hannibal, you just like take off, and then you just see Sid step up, jam one of his golden hands inside of it, and just like twist, and then it just falls to the ground dead.
Makes sense. I'm gonna wander over.
Okay.
How heavy does the hilt look?
Fairly, it is large size. Like the hilt itself is probably like this big.
How many pounds did you say it is?
You pick it up. It feels lighter than you think it should.
Bag of holding.
Okay.
Okay. After that, like, just it falls apart, and Sid is like with the hand still in like the same position that it was.
Mm-hmm. They just like fell around, like past your wrist, basically. Like you were still inside.
Yeah.
The breastplate just like fell around it. The head just, I suppose its head like landed in your palm, and you could just let it sink and fall through.
So like hands still in the same position that it was. Sid's going to look at Drew. What the fuck was that?
Drew is having a panic attack right now. Just
Still got the flame blade up and everything. Staff is just shooting fire into the sky.
She's just staring at like where it was and where it has fallen, and she's just like wide-eyed, just hyperventilating at this point. Just
you can begin to hear more commotion from further in, and like people starting to talk and like get attention and everything.
We need to leave.
Agreed. And Sid's going to first just really quick look at the armor, look at where it appeared, see if there's like any trace of anything where this thing came from.
Not that you can tell, no.
Okay, and then Sid's gonna go over, grab his coat and weapons and shoes, and put that all on, and just sort of like gently take Drew by the shoulders and lead her out of the alcove that they're in, turning back to Hannibal.
Hannibal was just floating 10 feet off the ground.
We're leaving now.
Okay, and I land. Yeah, that sword hilt goes in my bag of holding immediately.
Okay. So you all turn. Does anyone look back towards the alcove?
Okay.
Or does anybody? Okay. If you look like as you're talking to each other, and you look back, all the armor is gone.
I dig through the bag of holding and I think of the sword hilt.
Nothing comes to your hand.
Damn it.
This is not good.
What is happening?
Well, you know what they say.
Yep. They do say that.
They do in fact say that. Sid's just gonna like gently leading the way, but sort of like pushing Drew in front of him, just like gently holding her by the shoulders, is just gonna walk even faster away from whatever happened.
Okay. You managed to take enough advantage of the confusion that the like embassy guards and people who were around don't like connect you to it immediately, so you're able to just sneak out. And you can see, like, behind you, you can see people going in to take a look at the alcove and be like, what the hell just happened? You managed to get out, and you are out of there and in the city streets now, and heading back. Or I don't know where you're going, but
So that was fun. Just a reminder to everyone here. Ilvem's performing. We have to go see that and cheer him on in the audience. Be like,
Switch.
"Whoa, Ilvem." We also have to go kill some bandits who stole wizard stuff from my master. That's very important for me to do. Okay.
What time is it?
it's probably close to like 5 p.m. by this point.
Okay. Do we know what time Ilvem was supposed to perform? Or is it just
Sometime tonight. You didn't really get a specific time. I don't think Ilvem did either. It was kind of just like whenever you're ready was the answer Mirth gave.
Okay. And Drew's looking very beat up right now, correct?
Very, on a scale of like 1 to 21, I'd say we're at a 7.
Excellent. Okay.
And it appears to also be like frostbite. Like Drusilla feels cold, like as though she's been like fell into a frozen lake or has been outside in the winter despite the fact that it's like spring.
Okay. Sid's going to take off his coat and sort of put it on Drew's shoulders to hopefully help warm her up a little bit, and is just going to head back to the dragon and cat.
Onyx cat.
Onyx cat. What? I keep saying, I'm so sorry. I keep saying dragon and cat because that's the inn from my homebrew.
Oh.
I apologize.
That's okay.
Onyx cat. Okay.
Also, your Sid's coat on Drusilla like nearly is like down to her ankles.
It's real cute.
Yeah, like goes past
Baby Yoda.
Yeah, it is. Drew is my baby Yoda.
Sip soup.
It's like the sleeves like hang down past her hands, so it's just like.
I will put away flame fade.
Oh, okay, yeah. You realize as you're walking, you still got this like 4-foot long giant blade of fire coming off the top of your staff. You're like, oh right. Still, right before you put it away, though, you do still feel that like residual warmth in your crow skull that it's still you realize is still in your hand. You're using as a spell casting focus. Because normally, do you use that or your staff as the spell casting focus?
Normally, the staff is the focus.
Okay, you realize that for this spell, despite you cast it on the staff, you were focusing your magic through the crow skull in this instance. Like you didn't really think about it, but it's like as you can feel the energies coming through it, it's still like warmed touch in your hand. As the flame blade vanishes and the magic fades, the crow skull like begins to cool at a normal rate in your hand.
Put it back in the hair.
Okay. Okay, so y'all head back to the Onyx Cat. All right. Ilvem. So you've been having a fun afternoon, just sitting, relaxing, and you've got the suite all to yourself, just playing the flute, having a good time.
Yeah.
Anything special or particular, or just quiet afternoon of practicing?
It's mostly just a quiet afternoon of practicing.
All right. So a while later, a couple hours have passed, and then I think, do you all go back up to the room, or you just go back? Where do you go once you get to the Onyx Cat?
Room.
Okay. Everybody just comes into the room and mix of emotions on everybody's faces. Drusilla looks like, I would describe haunted. Would that be the correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, like haunted look on her face. She's got Sid's coat on. Yeah, that's just Sid has that like business-like look. Probably just like we're moving, we're going, get it done. Hannibal looks disappointed. I don't know. Bored. Yeah.
You missed out, Ilvem. We just got attacked in the streets by a bunch of demons. They said, "Oh, we're here for Ilvem's soul, but don't worry, we protected you and your soul."
Well, that's really nice. Thanks, Hannibal. Drew. Hey, buddy. You doing okay?
No.
No.
Oh.
Is there some snow in your hair?
She's just gonna reach up. It's like, yeah.
What? How is the park?
Not good. I don't like embassies.
Oh. Huh. So Sid, what actually happened?
Sid's gonna sit Drew down on like a chair or like the nearest couch
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, just sort of still like rubbing her shoulders. The arms are like probably still out, depending on how long it took them to get back to
It was a bit of. I think they only last for like 10 minutes, right?
10 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit of a walk. It was more than a 10-minute walk, so they're gone by now.
Okay, so they're gone now. And Sid's just going to turn to Ilvem. I'm going to go get some juice. You like juice? Looks at Drew. I'm going to go get some juice really quick. I will be back, and then I will explain everything. Can you please help her?
Yeah, of course. Can you get some fruit gummies?
Do I know what those are?
She looks
No.
like she could use some fruit gummies.
I could use some soup, some bone broth.
Sure, I guess. Okay, I don't even know what those are. And Sid's going to leave to go get some juice
Okay.
for
walk
his
over.
kids.
I'll walk over to Drew and just kind of like start rubbing her shoulders a lot like Sid was doing and cast Cure Wounds.
Okay. Yeah, definitely you can see injury. There's like, like one blunt force trauma and then like serious frostbite.
Okay, I'm gonna cast it twice.
Okay.
It's 10 points of healing back to you. As I'm like rubbing your shoulders, like rainbow light, much like my halo, kind of just like glows from underneath my hands. Feeling better, buddy?
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So Sid goes downstairs, goes to the bar and gets some juice.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Your favorite Furbolg bartender is down there. He's like, oh, hey, what can I get you?
Do you have any juice?
Oh, yeah, we got plenty still. We got the pomegranate, we got apple, we got orange, we got grape, pre-fermented and post-fermented, we've got all kinds of juice. What are you looking for?
Pomegranate, if you don't mind.
All right. One pomegranate juice coming right up. He goes and pours up a glass of pomegranate juice. Anything else for you?
Could I actually get 2 glasses if you don't mind?
Oh, sure. Another one coming right up. Goes and grabs another one.
Cool.
You know, Drusilla, things happen. People die. We should all be happy that you didn't die today. Speaking of dying, I need to prepare myself for the night ahead. And Hannibal's going to go downstairs to the bar.
Okay. All right. So Sid, as you're finishing up, you see and turning around with the glasses, you see Hannibal coming down.
Okay. I'm gonna walk up to Hannibal. Everything all right?
Yes. Excuse me, Mr. Bartender.
Oh, yeah. How can I help you?
I have never done this before.
All right. I get that a lot.
I would like a bottle of your strongest alcohol.
Oh, dear. All right.
I have never consumed alcohol before.
Maybe we don't want to start with the strongest then.
I want
friend.
to start with the strongest.
Well, so when you say strongest, you mean like strongest, or like strongest that you can handle?
Strongest. I want to see what happens to my brain when I drink a lot.
Okay, I'll just warn you that secondary use for the strongest we've got is stripping varnish off boats.
Sounds perfect. How much for a
All
whole
right.
bottle?
Oh boy, a whole bottle will be run you 15 gold.
Done. And I give him 15 gold.
All right, he goes away, comes back, with just like a bottle, the like red glass bottle, no label. Looks like the liquid inside looks fairly clear, but it's hard to tell the exact color from the shade of the bottle.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I give him an extra 5 gold.
Mm-hmm.
Just in case I make a mess.
Yeah, all right, we'll keep that in mind.
And then I head back up to the room with the bottle in my hand.
Okay, so Sid comes back up first with the 2 glasses of pomegranate juice.
Okay, gonna hand one to Drew, and one to Ilvem.
Thanks.
I'm gonna sit down, just kind of with my head in my hands for a second, and just take a breath. So, we went to the embassy. It was very nice, lovely. We found a little alcove. I did some yoga. It was very relaxing. And then a giant metal thing that was also cold but also had flame just appeared out of nowhere and tried to attack Drew and succeeded. And there is no evidence that it happened because once we killed it, it disappeared.
Well, what were you all doing when it was showing up? Things like that don't just show up.
Well, I was doing yoga. Hannibal was just sort of there. And what were you doing, Drew?
Was looking in that bowl. In the thing. The little bowl of water.
The bowl with the symbols?
Yeah.
Did you recognize those symbols?
Yes.
What was that bowl for?
It was for finding out information. Not for summoning whatever the hell that was.
Finding out information how?
Scrying.
Were you scrying on anyone?
Yes.
Who were you scrying on?
Drew's like fidgeting right now, like trying not to answer the question.
Sid's gonna lean forward and balance his elbows on his knees.
Oh, I'm just gonna like lean down and like whisper in Drew's ear and be like, he's very patient and this will just get more uncomfortable.
Drew, I want to help you. But I can't unless you tell me everything. Whatever that was, it had eyes only for you until I attacked it. We need to be prepared for this to happen again, and in order to be prepared, I need to know what it is that's coming after you.
I mean, are we sure it wasn't just something coming after her because she touched a magic bowl? Have y'all ever thought like, hey, here's a magic thing, maybe let's not touch it?
If that was the
Honestly, I
case,
thought that.
if that was the case, if it was guarded somehow, then I doubt that the people in the area would have been as surprised and as confused as they were when they saw the fight.
Well, maybe they just know not to touch a magic bowl. So they've never done it before.
Ha!
Well, if that's the case, so be it, but I would like to be prepared in case that this is not related to you touching the bowl.
That's fair, Drew. You're being awfully fidgety right now. It's a little suspicious.
I understand we just met. You don't want to share everything with us. I'm not asking you to share everything, just enough so that we can protect you.
No, if you're going to be with me, you deserve to know. I was talking to my mom. At first, it was kind of just I was trying to figure out if she was okay, but then she knew I was there, and then she was talking to me, and like one thing led to another, and she was like, "Oh, there's someone here for you. You have a visitor," and then it showed up.
Do you think she sent it to, like, test you? I always hated those.
I don't know what to think anymore.
Is there anyone that you know within the city who's skilled, extremely skilled with magic, who might be able to track this thing, know wherever it came from?
Hannibal lights up.
I don't know many people in the city, to be honest. I know there's like wizards. We did a job for one, but he didn't really seem very skilled because he let a bunch of spiders loose. So I wouldn't go to him. But I don't know.
Drusilla, based on what you were, the last couple things you and your mother talked about, you could hazard a guess where it came from. If you don't want to share that, that is up to you. But
we're not sharing it.
Okay, all right. Just want to make sure. Just want to make sure that was intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Would Hannibal be back at the room by now?
Oh yes, yeah. Hannibal would come back up with this cloudy red bottle of liquid.
Oh, the tension in here, it's quite heavy. It's palpable. I can taste it on my tongue.
Could I possibly do an insight just to see if Drew is like holding anything back?
Go ahead.
Okay. $11.
Hard to tell. Drusilla definitely seems upset, but like it's hard to tell exactly how much is coming from, like if she's trying to hide anything in particular.
Okay. Sid's going to turn to Hannibal. Hannibal, is there anyone within the city that you might know who could possibly figure out where this thing came from? Anyone extremely skilled in magic?
My teacher, who was teaching me to be a wizard, Master Varro. We helped clean out his house from his stupid student who unleashed face spiders in it.
Gross.
I know. I ate one of their eggs.
Super gross.
It wasn't a phase spider egg. It was a different egg.
What?
That's gross.
Drusilla, you lied to me?
Ooh.
Yes, I did.
And I was going to save all my poison for Grantar.
You did it for your own good.
I'm just kidding. So what'd I miss? You guys had a conversation?
We're discussing ways to keep Drew and ourselves safe in light of whatever it is that just showed up to try and kill us.
We could go talk to Master Varo. He'd probably know what it was and where it came from and why it's trying to kill Drusilla.
I agree. That would definitely be a good place to start.
But I
However,
think
we might have
I think the most important thing we do right now is we support Ilvem in his performance.
Agreed. I think Ilvem performs, we stay here, try not to act too out of the ordinary in case something is watching us. Tonight, I'll keep watch, at least for the first half of the night, and then tomorrow morning we can head over to Mastavaro.
Indeed. And I just the bottle and I smell it.
It doesn't smell like anything.
Ooh, you know it's good.
Yeah.
That's dangerous.
Ooh.
Drusilla, I've never drinking alcohol before. This will be a trip for all of us. And I just start drinking it.
Oh,
You,
no!
you knock some back. The second it touches your tongue, you're like, oh, well, it doesn't smell like anything. It doesn't taste like anything either.
Ooh.
But then you're like,
Uh-oh.
you can barely feel it going down, and you realize your mouth has gone numb. And just like it's like numb, but then also just burning on every surface in your mouth that it's touched. And like the back of your throat, whole way down, like just burns all the way down.
Ooh.
And then just like this almost this heartburn feeling just sitting in the pit of your stomach.
That's when you know it's good stuff.
Mhm.
Fucking mint.
Fucking man.
Go for it again.
Okay.
Nope. Sid's going to like.
Moloch, if anyone tries to take my bottle, you bite them.
I will take that risk, and I will try to just not necessarily grab the bottle, but just sort of.
Don't interfere with my fun. And I'm going to walk to my bedroom with the bottle
Oh
Okay.
Jesus!
and lock the door.
Oh
A
Jesus!
Constitution saving throw, real quick.
Oh, okay. I'm proficient in those. But it's thematic for how awful I roll for Hannibal. 12.
Okay. Yeah, you're like you get into your room and you close the door behind you. Were you going to go lay it down on the bed?
No.
Okay. What were you going to go do?
Lean up against the window and just keep drinking.
Okay. You
Feels
go to
right.
go to like go to lean up against the window, and there's suddenly two of them, and you just miss, and then just like kind of stumble into the wall, and you're like, oh dear.
Moloch, we have renovated. There are 2 windows.
There's 4 of Moloch's heads.
Oh, Moloch, you're growing.
The 4 of them turn and tilt at you.
This is in dire need of some flavor. And I put my glass bottle of unidentified slime into it.
Where did you get the glass bottle of unidentified
Just
slime
part of my
again?
starting equipment.
Oh, okay, all right.
So Hannibal doesn't even know
Oh
what
my-
slime is either.
God.
Bottoms up, Moloch.
Real, hang on, real quick. Let me. Okay, all right. So you put it in, and you just hear like a sizzling noise coming from inside the bottle.
Acid damage.
Oh no.
I pour a little bit on the floor just to see.
Okay, it hits the floor, and like splats in like a clump. Like it's like goo. It's like almost it's like somewhere between a solid and a liquid. Like it splats and does not flow.
Moloch, we made jello. And I drink more of it. Or
It's-
chew
yeah,
more of it.
Yeah, you have to like chew it going down, and the gross or not like there's a little bit of a. It still doesn't have flavor, but it's not because it doesn't have flavor. It's because you've burned out your taste buds. But but you know, the burning feeling doesn't quite register as much anymore because of the numbness and also the, you know, immediate drunkenness.
Moloch, this is ridiculous. And I open up the window.
Mm-hmm.
I just dump what remains of it out the window.
So it just takes a second. Like you turn it upside down and it like just sits for a second, then just and then it just splats onto like the balcony outside and just kind of sits there.
Close the window.
Okay. So I got a little clump of it on the floor too.
Kick it under the bed.
Okay. It just kind of like almost rolls.
Yeah, I go back out into the area where everybody else is, and I go, "Hey, everyone! It's so good to see you all."
It takes you a couple tries to find the doorknob.
Oh my god.
You use your Hannibal's hand is like butting up against the door before finally the door just swings open.
Oh,
Hannibal's-
Drusilla, stop moving the doorknobs.
I didn't.
Is it time for your performance, Ilvem?
I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of whenever. But I mean, I guess we could go get dinner.
I
It'll
attempt.
probably be good for me to perform during dinner.
I attempt to sit down at my seat at the table.
Make me a dexterity saving throw.
8.
Wham! You just sit right. It's like someone pulled the chair out from behind you. You go to sit down, and there's just nothing there, right onto your back.
Huh. This is what alcohol does to people?
This is what alcohol does when you're stupid about it. So it's gonna help him up.
Okay.
I can do it.
No, I really don't think you can't. He's going to guide him to his chair.
I'm gonna cast Enhance Ability for Charisma.
On yourself.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so dinner, forget about our problems.
Yeah.
What problems?
Exactly. Drew, do you mind if I have my coat back?
Of course, sure. She'll take it off and.
Between the cure wounds and being inside and it having some time passing, you're warmed up again.
Yeah.
Right. Sid's going to put on the coat, adjust himself. All right. Ilvem, lead the way.
Do I wear my bowler hat for this, or do I wear the hat I got commissioned with the big feather in it?
The feather one.
I don't think you've ever gone and picked that one up.
I
Actually,
never went and picked up my hat. Oh
it's
yeah,
just been, it's been some time. You got it commissioned, but then you just kind of forgot about it.
I just wear my bowler hat. Let's go.
All right, so y'all head back down to the main dining hall.
I attempt to.
Okay.
Sid's going to like kind of hold on to Hannibal's elbow and guide him.
Yep. You can guide Hannibal down the stairs. You can eventually get down to the main dining hall where everyone, dinner is in full swing. It's still that kind of light background kind of music being played from somewhere up on like the second floor balcony. Not quite the full-on performances just yet, but they'll be starting pretty soon.
Oh, Ilvem, you're so good. So good.
Thank you very much. That's why I practiced all day today.
Me too.
Okay. So y'all can get some dinner. It's included in what you've been paying for your rooms.
I'm gonna find Mirth and tell him I'm ready whenever is good.
All right. Well, I will put you on the docket then. Oh, and I've received word that the friend that you had me contact some time ago someone should be on their way shortly.
Okay, great. Great. Thanks, Mirth. Great.
Mm-hmm. I'll go make sure you're on the list. He makes his way off.
That's-
And I'll get a lovely dinner.
Sid is like force feeding Hannibal like water.
I don't drink water. I breathe it.
Well, you drink it tonight. Here.
No, I don't. I am amphibious. I breathe.
Yes, well, you also drink it. Drink.
If I am amphibious, could I breathe alcohol?
I don't even want you to try that.
I take this down in my notes.
Okay, it's you look over Hannibal's shoulder as he pulls out a pen and starts writing his notes and like just giant letters. Just can breathe alcohol? ? Like, it looks all caps. Looks like it was written by a child.
I never
Beautiful.
thought if you're amphibious, could you breathe in any liquid?
I don't know. It was gonna be like not actually eat anything and just kind of like anxiously picking at like the bread and stuff, you know, doing like very classic like tearing everything up.
She's just pushing it around.
Some point throughout the night, as a couple performances will begin. The general tone changes. You haven't been in the dining room since for this part of the night since your first night here. So it's like the lights dim, just the bit of like candlelight on the edge of the stage. They basically got like stage lights, so it's kind of like a reflective candle holder that directs all of the light up on the stage, and the whole front of the stage is lined with those. So like the lights elsewhere in the building will dim down, so it's just the stage is lit, and everyone pretty much goes quiet and silent as the performances come up.
Oh, it got dark.
Oh, also Ilvem is like not wearing their armor at all, and it's just like wearing like very like classic bardic clothing, you know?
Okay.
Flowy shirt, tight pants.
Mm-hmm.
You know it, you love it.
Yeah. So like, first comes up a solo violinist who plays like a very very slow, fluid, mournful kind of piece. Next up is a pair that is like, one plays the lute and the other one sings, and they sing a ballad. Another person comes up and with like an accordion and shifts the tone entirely and sings a very, very like body tavern song, basically, that like encourages people to sing along and gets everyone like clapping along and like reciting the verses and brings the energy way up.
Hannibal does that.
Hannibal attempts. Some of you like, no one else can tell, but those of you listening, like, some of the words just aren't there coming out of Hannibal. Like, those sound like words, but they're not actually any words in any language that anyone you know.
Try clapping my hands, just keep missing each other.
Mm-hmm. And that one really brings up the energy in the place as well. Do I have the name of that song? I might. I don't think so. Okay. And then it is Ilvem's turn.
Why did chat say assless chaps?
What?
What?
Talking about Ilvem's bard uniform and it's assless chaps.
That's the thing. I think, aren't all chaps assless though? Like, otherwise
Yes.
they'd just be pants.
When Ilvem
You're right, and you should say it.
when Ilvem comes out on stage, Hannibal just stands up and just does a standing ovation, just cheering. Ilvem! Oh, yes!
Okay.
Hey.
It's like polite applause, but then way, way louder than anyone should be. You can hear and see Hannibal just inappropriately just cheering from the back.
And grab him by the back of his coat and tug him down to sit back in the chair.
Ilvem has like a little bit of a blush.
Sorry, I was trying to give him inspiration.
Hi everybody. I'm Ilvem, and I'm gonna be performing a little flute number for you. I'm probably gonna be changing the mood a little bit. This is a lullaby a dear friend taught me. So here we go, I guess. And then I'll start playing.
Okay. So here's how we're gonna do this. I'm not gonna do just one performance roll. What I will let you do is you're gonna make a roll for the beginning, a roll for the middle, and a roll for the end to see how it goes like throughout.
Great.
You have advantage on all of them because you cast Enhance ability. That hasn't worn off yet. You're like right at the tail end of it, but it's still there. But I will let you effectively, not like exactly numerically, but I will let you kind of set your own difficulty. So you can add complexity and make it like you can, shoot for more complexity or depth, or you can kind of play it safe, depending. It's up to you, and you can do that by section. So
Okay.
as you start out, are you what kind of tone are you going for? What are you aiming for?
So it starts off like really soft and kind of sad sounding, nothing too
Mhm.
complex.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay, so just kind of like a fairly basic beginning, just kind of like the notes and focusing on some fairly straightforward notes and just kind of getting the tone. All right, so roll me the performance check for that.
15.
Okay, so Ilvem begins with a very well played, but somewhat, I don't want to say simple, but the beginning of a lullaby, nothing too fancy to begin with, but you can tell that the audience is listening and enjoying so far.
Okay.
And then that brings you into the middle of the song.
Yeah, then the middle gets like more complex, like the notes get like longer and start getting like much more mournful and like starts just like getting very like funeral-y, you know?
Okay. Are you still kind of sticking with just the notes, or are you trying to add more like dynamic changes and a little bit more emotion and complexity into it?
Yeah, definitely more emotion and complexity to it all.
Okay, so you're aiming for a little more difficulty for yourself, so go ahead and roll a performance check for this one.
Oh, yikes. To 14.
Okay. Did you roll with advantage?
Yeah.
Okay.
A 4 and a 9.
Okay. So Ilvem gets to this part and like is doing well, but you can tell that there's a couple places where they like in this middle section where they kind of, it's not a lot. It's almost completely there, but there's just a couple places where they lean a little bit too much into some of it, and almost like in the excitement of the moment or really feeling the emotion of the song, lose a little bit. Something like some of the pitch shifts just a little bit, enough that like you can hear it pulls you out of the song a little bit. Or like a couple rhythms are held, like some notes are held just a little bit too long, so the rhythm is lost just for a second, not a whole lot, just enough. It's just enough to just kind of give you like a little bit of a but then you kind of like forget about it as it keeps going.
Also, Ilvem is like free flow tear, like crying, just like.
All right.
And then the end is also going to be complex and emotional.
Okay, go ahead and roll it.
Oof. Okay. It's only a 10.
Okay. At this point, coming into the ending, aiming for that complexity, it's still there. Like the basic tune is still there. You get to the ending. But like there is definitely, like, to your musician's ear, there were definitely mistakes. There was definitely things you kind of like reached for. If you had tried to like keep it very, very basic and just play it pretty standard, all of these sections would have been fine and technically sound. But in trying to lean more into the emotion and like get more into it, some of the technical aspects of it kind of suffered some, especially at this ending bit, where like some of the notes went a little sharp or flat, kind of off pitch. The rhythm was a little bit hard to follow in some places, but it comes to an end and the audience does, clap for you.
They like hiccup a little bit with them, then just kind of like bow and like immediately exit stage.
Okay. Mirth like ushers the next person on. Actually, the next group on fairly quickly. It's a full ensemble where they've got like a string quartet that goes up on stage and jumps right into playing fairly upbeat, like starts off kind of slow but gets upbeat kind of song that bounces back and forth between the four of them, and there's a lot of harmonizing and sharing of some faster rhythms and runs in the middle. Ilvem makes their way back down to the table.
Oh no, Ilvem goes straight back up to the room.
Oh, okay. So Ilvem just exits stage, turns right instead of left, and just goes into the back of the building and heads back towards the room.
I know them.
Sid's gonna turn to Drew. Think you can keep an eye on Hannibal for a few minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be right back. And he gets up and sort of pats her on the shoulder and heads back to the room.
Okay, so you make your way up to the room where you would find. I think you would find Ilvem. Or would Ilvem be like in the living room or just straight to their room?
Yeah, they probably would have just like gone straight to their room and just like sitting on the bed crying.
Okay, so Sid, you get up to the main room, and Ilvem is not in the main kind of living room area, but you can hear quiet crying through their door.
Also, I just rolled 2 nat 20s.
Wow.
Ooh,
Oof.
that's what we call narrative rolls.
That's Ilvem sitting there in the bed, like going through and immediately going over the mistakes, being like, if I could do it over. They're like, if I could do it over, I would be so much better.
Yeah, rough.
Sid's gonna go up and sort of like lean back against the wall and knock on the door.
Yeah?
It's me. Do you mind if I come in?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Sid's gonna come in and gently close the door behind him.
Okay. See Ilvem inside.
Equally wiping tears away.
Sid's gonna sit on the bed next to them. Well, I'd ask if you're okay, but I feel like that's a stupid question.
You know, I've never actually like had a performance before, so like that was a lot. I should have chose a different song.
Maybe, but I think the song that you chose was quite lovely.
Thanks. You know, when we first got to the Enclave and we were given our groups, Free Beauty especially had a really hard time sleeping. And so we would all just kind of like lay in our bunks and like not sleep and then get in trouble the next day because everyone would be really tired. But then Victoria decided she would start singing us a lullaby every night. And that was the lullaby. And I guess it just hit me a lot harder than I was expecting to, how much I missed them.
Well, I think you really did them justice tonight.
I didn't, but thank you.
I have to respectfully disagree. It takes a lot to be able to go up on a stage and to do what you just did. And you are skilled at your craft. Yes, perhaps you could have done better, but the fact of the matter is that you went up and you performed and you did something that spoke to you. And I quite liked it.
Thanks, Sid. We're gonna find them, right?
And Sid's gonna actually smile. Like, full smile, you see teeth. And just sort of lay his hand in the middle of your back. We're going to try at least. That much I can promise you.
I can live with that. And then I'm just gonna like hug Sid really hard.
Okay, all right, that's enough.
You know, I didn't actually eat my dinner. I was too nervous.
Well,
I'm hungry now.
then let's go get you something to eat. And Sid's gonna stand
No.
and offer his arm.
Ilvem will gladly take it.
And lead the way back to the table.
Okay, head back down. Hannibal and Drusilla have been just listening to a couple of performances, I guess, for a bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
You all come back down. There's more performances going. When you get started, or when you after you sit down and you keep eating your food, the next performance that comes up is a gnome who accents his performance with like minor illusions around as part of it, just like weaving some of that in as well. Sings a song called Baron John's Pie, which just a lot of the lyrics just are about like the phrase, like are center around the phrase eating Baron John's pie, and you don't think it's actually about pie.
Drusilla, I don't think that's about pie.
Around this time, Drusilla's gonna stand up and just be like, I need some fresh air. I'll be outside the door.
Okay, I need sleep, and I just pass out at the table. Just
Bang! Clatter, clatter of glasses and silverware.
And that is my cue to help him to bed. Ilvem, are you going to be all right?
Yeah, I'll just have some dinner, then I'll probably meet you back up there.
Okay. Sounds good. And Sid's going to try he best to get Hannibal back to bed.
Okay. Hannibal's like, there's some partial consciousness there. So, like, half awake Hannibal probably will, like, help stumble once you get him to his feet, mumbling.
No.
And
no, Cohis, don't touch my experiments.
All right,
Malik
off
is
to
like-
bed with you.
wiggling out from inside the coat pocket.
Love it.
Mhm.
Sid's gonna take him back to his room and tuck him in and make sure that there's a glass of water on the nightstand and make sure that Moloch isn't like crushed in the coat.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So Ilvem, you're down there eating dinner alone. As you're eating, like a few people from other tables will just like wave, like recognize you and wave. A couple people walk by and just very quickly just like, oh, great performance. I really liked it.
Thanks.
Quinroar, the bartender, stops by and says, a couple of people wanted to buy you a drink. Any specific order?
Oh, just pomegranate juice.
All right, I'll let him know. And then comes back with pomegranate juice a couple times. Like you see, you spot a couple of the other musicians around as you're sitting there, and you notice that like it seems like they're getting drinks bought for them for their performances. So like, well, it looks like some of the really good ones are definitely getting more. You're getting your fair share. So like, seems like people did. There were definitely people that enjoyed it. And Drusilla, you were heading outside.
Mm-hmm.
Just like out the front doors, just into the street, or?
Yeah.
Okay. You're outside in the street, the cool night air. The whole front is like the whole front sign is lit up with the black cat silhouette on the middle of it, lighting up the street.
I'm gonna go around a corner, try
Okay.
to find like an alleyway that's
Mhm.
somewhat dark,
Mm-hmm.
and she's gonna just kind of sit against a wall and just process the events of the day while holding on to the skull,
Okay.
trying to see if it will feel warm again.
Does not at the moment seem like it, but you definitely feel that similar connection to it that you do to your staff, that it can act as whether or not it could before, you can definitely feel that magic flows easily in and out of it, and that it can act as a spellcasting focus for you.
Quite. And she's just gonna wander.
Okay.
Just go for a night walk, just wander around the city.
Okay. Pretty uneventful night. You can see you pass by some other theaters and taverns and things. You hear other laughter and music and other places of performance. Yeah, there's a couple people on street corners that have just got instruments out. A couple of them are just sitting there strumming along and playing like on a little lyre with a case out, and just as people pass by, occasionally dropping coins, all the way up to like there's a full like almost makeshift jazz band on a corner together, like just banging out some tunes, and there's almost like a small makeshift party around them of like people dancing in the street just outside like a cafe. So occasionally people move back and forth, going and getting drinks and food. It's almost like become an impromptu outside performance space.
Just gonna move right past it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can just walk around, you just kind of see the life of the city, and especially thinking about and going back to seeing back to the woods today, you can definitely you can see there's some things just kind of strike you a little bit as you're walking around, just kind of observing the nightlife and everything. You see some minor like alleyways or spaces between buildings that don't normally look like didn't look like they should have built with the intention of traffic, but you can definitely see like the dirt worn in a way that reminds you of a deer trail through the woods, for example. You can see people sitting and huddled together in a way that reminds you of, animal families in their dens and things like that. And just like as you look around, you can kind of there's that hard line between, like nature and civilization. Like just at least for tonight, there you can definitely see some places where there's enough familiarity where at least for now it can blur a little for you.
Do I get the sense that anyone's watching me?
Not really watching you necessarily. Like you definitely are noticed as you go by, but in the same way that when you walk through the woods, animals will notice you, like take note of you, but then go back to what they're doing. You get that sense from the people around you. Just like they'll notice you as you like enter into their field of vision or something, but then they'll just go back to doing whatever they're doing.
Eventually she'll make her way back to the Onyx Cat and just go straight up to her room.
Okay. I think at this point, everyone is, or I don't know when Ilvem goes to bed.
They actually like just probably don't for like quite a few hours. They just stay like downstairs in the tavern area.
Okay. Eventually, like you get to the point where the night wraps up, people start leaving. They start putting the chairs up and cleaning everything up and closing up for the night. Some of the waiters and Mirth will come by and make occasional chit chat with you between setting things up, kind of like, making it clear that, no rush for you to move or anything, but, they're just closing up for the night.
And then, yeah, around then is when everyone will be like, okay, well, good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night. Thank you for the performance. It was lovely.
Okay. Bye.
Good night. You can head back upstairs. And everyone goes to sleep for the night.
Sid is keeping watch.
Okay. So Sid stays up and keeps watch. Like in the living room, just like facing the door?
Yeah.
Okay, so you see everybody come in, or you see Drusilla and Ilvem come in for the night as they enter in.
Okay. I still think that we should arrange a watch. I'll take first shift. Anyone want to take second?
I can take second shift.
Thank you, Drew. Should we have a third or just the 2 shifts?
Well, don't you each only sleep for 4 hours a night? So I'm gonna go to bed. Good night.
Good night, Ilvem.
Good night.
All right. Then I'll take first watch, and then when my watch is done, I'll go get Drew.
Okay. All right. So you watch into the night. Nothing eventful occurs. No spectral suits of armor filled with blue flame appear in your bedroom or anything like that. You have a peaceful rest of your night. You can all get a long rest.
Ooh.
Okay. And then you'll all wake up in the morning, but I believe in like 5 minutes Justin needs to get going. And since it takes us some time to wrap up and end the stream, I think that is a good place to end for the week. Mm-hmm. Okay. You feel nice. You feel terrible. You feel awful. You like everything kind of tastes like metal for some reason, and like you can't get that taste out of your mouth. And if you like drink something, you can't taste water. You do not have taste buds currently. And as you look over off the edge of your bed, you can see where that like ball of slime landed and then rolled under your bed.
Yeah.
Like the floor is lighter where it landed, and like the path it rolled across, there's definite like change in color there.
Oof.
Well, Moloch, We will remember not to drink that again.
And like the wood looks a little rougher and less shiny there too. Like it just peeled the varnish right off.
Makes sense.
Hey, if you look out the window, you can see the one still just sitting there on the wooden balcony.
Excellent.
All right. Everybody else wakes up in the morning as well. You can all get breakfast and figure out what you want to do with your day. Just so I know what to prep over break, I believe that you are heading for. Was the plan to go to the bandits and at some point the bone grinder?
Yes. Go speak
Bone grinder.
Go speak to Master Varro about this armored suit thing.
Okay, so speak to Master Varro about that, and then go deal with bandits and then other stuff. Okay.
Bone grinder, yeah.
Also,
level up.
You guys are level 4.
So does that mean Hannibal could go one level into wizard?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
I'll let you know now, just so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
When you go speak to Master Varro,
spellbook,
he'll give you can get a spellbook from him.
Plus.
Yay!
All right, add another. And yeah, when you take, I'm new to multi-class. When you take a level, first level in another class, you roll hit dice, right? You don't automatically get the full hit
Correct.
dice.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
That's just for level 1, first level of ever.
So wizards are a D6.
Mm-hmm.
Oh geez, and
You
artificers.
roll 1, right?
I'll say yes.
I
I
got
don't think I've said that officially before. I also allow before anyone rolls, before you roll, I do also allow taking the printed average for the dice as well, if you want.
I already rolled.
Okay.
I got a 2, so my hit points are 24.
Okay. Squishy wizard.
But I get to pick. Oh, do I get to add wizard cantrips right now?
Yeah, you do. I'll say that you're gonna get the spell book basically before you need to do anything with the spells.
Okay.
But like technically, you can pick them now. This will be worked out with Master Varro when you get the spell book, though.
Okay. I'll pick
So like over this time, you can pick everything, but technically Hannibal won't get them for
a
little bit into the next section.
Cool.
We at 34, baby.
Nice. And the level 4, so you can get ability score increases or a feat.
Woo!
Unless you're multi-classing, in which case you do not.
Nope, I do not.
Fucking sucks.
Half the party is multi-classing.
Hey.
Ugh.
That's how she goes.
So, oh man. All right.
Feels
I
bad.
can't love it.
Ilvem finally did their performance and found out that they will be hearing from a request they put out a while ago. And Drusilla finally got to catch up with her mom.
It's a nice family bonding.
Yeah.
Nice family reunion.
Oh, yeah. So, thank you, audience, all of you for watching. We always appreciate you. I love seeing all of the activity in chat. It's so nice, especially I know I'm doing good when I see caps lock in chat. Like even if I just glance over and I just see all caps filling the whole screen, I'm like, things are going well. Cool. Cool. So thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed us, tell your friends, get them to join you in chat. Talk to your friends in chat.
Yes.
We're always happy for more audience. We love and appreciate you, or we love to reach more people. So tell your friends. And with that, I think we are going to say goodbye for the week. So
we are.
And for like the month. So see you back here in January.
We'll be back.
See you next year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Next year.
Next decade.
Yeah, next decade. So yeah, we'll be back January 5th with Soldiers of Lich Queen and Descent into Avernus. Our Sunday games. January 1st for the Wednesday games after the holidays. January 2nd for Shadows over Ravenloft, the Ravenloft campaign. But we still have a couple more games this week.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight at 10:30 Eastern Time, the continuation of Descent into Avernus. And then Wednesday, Beneath the Tide and Hearts of Madness or Pandemonium campaign. And then Thursday, the first session of Shadows over Ravenloft. And then holiday break.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good break and good holidays.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.